Good morning and welcome to the Upper School Final Assembly. What a year! We are so proud of you students and how you've navigated this difficult year. We started on Zoom, we progressed to low density, and then we were able to host all of you on campus by October because you regularly showed care and respect for your teachers, your coaches, and peers by keeping your mask on, staying socially distanced, though some of you needed to be reminded with the infamous social distance noodle, and cleaning down your desks every day. Seniors, you have really led the way by example. Thank you so much. And while it wasn't totally the senior year that you imagined, I hope that you've still had fun during the moments we've been able to preserve traditions like senior tea, off-campus privileges, and prom. We wish this event, this assembly, could be in person, but we are very hopeful that next year we'll be able to gather together as a whole division more frequently. Today, in our last assembly of the year, we're here to pay tribute to the importance of leadership and service in the life of the school. We want to thank those students who have served in leadership roles this year and honor those members of the faculty who have achieved significant milestones in their service to St. John's, as well as those who are leaving at the end of the year. Just a note, the purpose of the Upper School Awards ceremony that will be sent out to you and your parents on May 5th is to celebrate some noteworthy examples of excellence in academics, extracurricular activities, service, and leadership, and to celebrate those students who have most thoroughly embraced the precepts and principles of St. John's School. Later in May at the faculty trustee reception, we will honor members of the faculty and staff who are achieving significant milestones in their service to St. John's. I would also like to recognize them today. For 10 years of service, please join me in congratulating Ms. Rojas Martin, Coach Halligan, Ms. DeStefano, Ms. Cannon, Mr. Arduini, Ms. Berger, and Ms. Lakey. For 20 years of service, please join me in congratulating Mr. Bonasso, Ms. DiPaolo, Ms. Johnson-West, Ms. Means, and Mr. Nathan. For 30 years of service, please join me in congratulating Coach Gleaves and Ms. Schaefer. And for 40 years of service, please join me in congratulating Ms. Childress. I would also like to recognize those teachers who are retiring or leaving at the end of the school year. Ms. Dixon, Ms. DiPaolo, Mr. Friedman, Mr. Griffin, Mr. Hegeman, and Mr. Tavicoli. This year, I have been both impressed with and inspired by the endeavors of our student organizations, particularly in this very unusual year. They make St. John's the vibrant school that it is, and they would not exist without excellent student leadership and significant contributions from a large portion of our student community. At this time, I'd like to recognize the student leaders of the Tour Guild and the Chapel Guild. For the Tour Guild, George Caldwell, Scott Coe, Caroline Pressler, Tasha Savas, Mia Bradford, Lily Pesikoff, Patrick Fanning, Jane Meng, and Cinco Grobmeyer. For the leaders of the Chapel Guild, I'd like to recognize George Hagel, Lindsay Price, Campbell Lee, Maddie Mahoney, Shariar Jaffrey, and Nicholas Munoz. Would all other students who contributed to these groups please stand in your advisory to be recognized. Please join me in thanking these students. Now, I'd like to recognize the student leaders of the Quadrangle, Imagination, and the Review. For the Quadrangle, Editor-in-Chief Charlotte Curtin, Lauren Kapeloff, Editor-in-Chief, Maddie Mahoney, Senior Editor, Abby Walker, Senior Editor, Alexandra Gill, Sports Editor, Lila Carey, Sports Editor, Ava Leitner, Photography Editor, Kirk Waller, Photography Editor, and Julia Ray, Lower School Editor. From the Imagination Literary Magazine, I'd like to recognize Editor-in-Chief Tyler King, Editor-in-Chief Alexa Theophanidis, Managing Editor, Nyla Hartigan. Managing Editor, Liv Rubenstein. Poetry Editor, Ariana Lee. And Prose Editor, Ethan Kinsella. And the editors of the review are as follows: Lainey Chang, Online Editor-in-Chief, Fareen Duka, Online Editor-in-Chief, Nora Jabir, Editor-in-Chief, Abigail Pogue, Editor-in-Chief, Grace Randall, Editor-in-Chief, Julia Smith, News Editor, Ethan Kinsella, Copy Editor, Gabriella Solomosi, Copy Editor, Max Beard, Copy Editor, Matthew Hensel, Design Editor, Bailey Mayerson, Design Editor, Max Sherrod, Photography Editor, and Rahul Rupani, Business Manager. Would all other students who contributed to these groups please stand in your advisory to be recognized? Let's thank these students with a round of applause. I would now like to recognize the student leaders of Johnny Cake: President Meridian Monty, Vice President Tanner Watson, Production Manager Sean Patel, ITS Officer Catherine Huang, and Historian Sophia Gruen. Would all other students who contributed to our Fine Arts program this year please stand in your advisory to be recognized? This next group of students has done incredible work in building community. As Maya Angelou describes, in diversity, there is beauty and strength. And these students have worked to foster brave spaces for students to consider identity and general awareness about various topics and issues this year. I'd first like to recognize the two co-chairs for the Unity Council, Lauren Aguilar and Natalie Brown. We've asked Natalie and Lauren now to acknowledge the great work of the co-chairs of our 10 affinity groups and also our student SDLC representatives. I'll hand it over to Lauren and Natalie now.
The African American Affinity Group co-presidents, Isabella O'Reilly and Max Sherrod. The East Asian Affinity Group executive leaders, Nicole Doyle and Scott Coe. The Jewish Affinity Group co-presidents, Sydney Hammerman and Liv Rubenstein. The Latinos Unidos co-chairs, Cross Guillen and Nicholas Munoz. The Middle Eastern North African Affinity Group, Zoe Toy. The Mixed Race Affinity Group co-presidents, Nina Varma and Natalie Brown. The PRISM leaders, Len De La Cruz, Liv Rubenstein, Lauren Aguilar, Romit Kundagrami, Sophie Trammell, Aspen Collins, and Edward Chen. The South Asian Affinity Group co-presidents, Atika Aziz, Shahryar Jaffrey, and Rahul Rupani. The WE leaders, Fareen Duka, Meridian Monty, Charlotte Gillard, Carly Fisher, Sophie Lesniak, Elizabeth Schaefer, and Wellesley Moore. The WALK leaders, Carolyn DePino, Rachel Kim, Kennedy Black, Ella Chen, Ariana Das, and Johnny Matra, Chloe Zhao, and Sydney Chan.
Every December, students from around the country attend the Student Diversity Leadership Conference. SDLC is an extension of the annual People of Color Conference and is sponsored by the National Association of Independent Schools. This year, 6 upper school students attended the conference virtually with faculty members. Would the following SDLC participants stand in your advisory to be recognized? Elliot Amen, Atika Aziz, Maria Cheng, Ariana Das, Celine Huang, and Bryce Pollock. At this time, we will turn the program over to the Upper School Dean of Students, Dean Duncan, for the next portion of the assembly.
In the upper school, there are over 100 student clubs and organizations that represent our student body's vast range of interests. First, I would like to recognize the student leaders of the International Club, the ECOS Club, SAMC, and Science Olympiad. Would the following students please stand in their advisories to be recognized? From the International Club, Casey Probst. From ECOS, Edward Chin, Luke Witten, Lauren Aguilar, and Isabella Gidi. From the Science and Math Club, Scott Coe, Margot Marinelli, Kushal Kendall, and Connie Yu. And from the Science Olympiad, Connie Yu, Tyler King, Ashley Yin, Russell Lee, Emily Wong, and Alex Adkins. Next, we would like to recognize the student leaders of the debate team, the Quiz Bowl team, French Symposium, and Model UN. From the debate team, Presidents Diane Yu and Madeline Wu, Officers Maria Cheng, Ananya Das, Oliver Lin, and Catherine Yu. From the Quiz Bowl, Elijah Downsey. From French Symposium, Ramit Kundagrami and Anna Sophia Miro. From Model UN, Pierce Ederle, Aidan Manji, and Tyler King. All of our clubs, activities, and organizations have been important outlets for student creativity and have helped foster the talents, interests, and ambitions of hundreds of students, even through Zoom. While we do not have enough time to recognize all clubs with a trip to the stage, proverbially, we do want to take time to recognize the student leadership of a sampling of our wide range of clubs. Will the following students please stand to be recognized in your advisory as leaders of the following clubs? From Art Club, Angela Zhu and Sarah Fedoric. From Bible Study, Katcher Halligan, Elizabeth Cox, Evie Barrett, Annalie Clearman, and Diane Yu. From Film Studies Club, Meridian Monty. From French Club, Charlotte Guillard. From SPEC, Piper Edwards. From the Sports Management Club, Jackson Humphreys. From YES, the Young Entrepreneurs of St. John's, Jim Rouse. From the Young Political Organization, which includes the Young Conservatives Club, Maggie Miller and Oliver Magdal, and the Young Liberals Organization, Natasha Savas. As you can see from this sampling, we have a great variety of student interests, and we are proud of the efforts of all of our clubs and organizations. So if you participated in a club or organization here in the upper school this year, please stand in your advisory to be recognized. As Dean of Students, one very large part of my job is overseeing the various events throughout the year that make up our Vibrant Student Life program. These students always require faculty chaperone help, and we like to recognize faculty who consistently offer to attend. The recipient of the 4th Annual Chaperone of the Year Award is Jeremy Johnson. We have a lovely trophy for you, Mr. Johnson, and can't wait to give it to you. Next, I'd like to recognize the student leaders of the Drum Corps, the Spirit Club, and the Cheerleading Squad. Would the following students please stand in their advisories to be recognized? From the Drum Corps, Annalie Clearman and Jeffrey Lee. From the Spirit Club, Piper Edwards, Caroline Pressler, and Janie Spadell. From the Cheerleading Squad, Charlotte Curtin and Ava Leitner. Thank you for all of your efforts to raise school spirit this year. I would now like to recognize the graduating officers of the Community Service Program. All officers have worked a minimum of 100 hours this year alone. From the class of 2021, Rachel Kim, Thomas Chang, Tyler King, Pierce Ederle, Lauren Fulgham, Alexandra Gill, Marco Stix, Vivian Terry, and Rachel Thompson. In addition to the seniors, we would like to recognize the following grade level community service officers. For the class of 2022, Kate Willey, Ashley Yin, Elliot Amon, Dion Yu, Athika Aziz, Indrani Matra, Afraz Malik, and Matthew Perez. From the class of 2023, Lexi Guo, Louise Terry, Lucia Varma, Veda Chilikapati, and Benjamin Plana Trachtenberg. And from the class of 2024, Lily Harvey, Mary Ho, and Mackenzie Rice. Please join me in thanking these students with a round of applause in your advisories. We would like to also recognize all other students who contributed to various community service projects throughout the year. Your work has not gone unnoticed. Every year in late February, our 8th grade makes the 563-mile drive to Big Bend National Park for a week of camping and hiking. This year that was not possible due to the national park being closed, but instead 24 upper school students donated their Friday and Saturday, the weekend before last, to serve as counselors for a special Class 8 outdoor adventure weekend where they oversaw off-campus activities and helped the 8th graders complete challenges on campus, eat meals together, and sleep in tents on the softball and football fields. If you were a Class 8 Camp Out counselor, please stand in your advisory to be recognized. We would also like to acknowledge our 2020-2021 senior peer leaders for the role they played in enhancing student life in the SJS community. We could not have asked for a more caring, creative, and hardworking group of seniors. Will the 2020-2021 peer leaders please stand in your advisories to be recognized? I would also like to acknowledge the counselors for the Class 9 orientation. This group of students came back to school a week early to help plan and execute the 2020 orientation, which took place on Zoom. Even with all of the challenges associated with conducting a virtual orientation, the energy with which this group prepared and implemented the event was outstanding, and they did it all with a smile and a sense of humor. If you were a Class 9 retreat counselor, please stand in your advisories to be recognized. Also, a big thank you to Mr. Thompson for his efforts with all of these groups. And now I'd like to turn the program over to our head prefect, Thomas Chang, so he can recognize our newly elected SAC representatives.
Good morning, everyone. Would all 9th, 10th, and 11th graders who served on SAC this year stand in your advisory and be recognized? Also, please join me in thanking the SAC faculty sponsors this year, Ms. Barr, Dr. Harris, and Mr. Thompson. The rising sophomore and junior class presidents, vice presidents, and representatives for the Student Affairs Council next fall will be announced in this weekend's infographic. The council members representing next year's Class 9 will be elected at the beginning of the fall semester. Finally, we would like to introduce the newly elected prefects. As I call your name, please stand to be recognized in your advisory. The prefects for the 2021-2022 school year are Charlie Leach, Stefan Gustafson, Lily Pesikoff, Liv Rubenstein, Josh Siegel, and Kate Willie. And your new head prefect is Matthew Perez. I would like to congratulate all of today's honorees and commend all of you for your hard work and contributions this year. I wish you all a smooth finish to the school year and a great summer. This concludes today's assembly, and go Mavs!